This is Lori Grenier. You've seen me on Shark Tank hearing pitches from small businesses. Now, there's a new way for small businesses to get a loan in minutes. It's called Cabbage. That's Cabbage with a K. Just fill out the application online. You'll get an instant decision and could have access to a line of credit of up to $100,000. No waiting, no hassle. Cabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and is a Forbes Top 100 company. Go to Cabbage.com, that's Cabbage with a K, Kabbage, or call 888-CABBAGE.
The Pirates and Cardinals have the best two records in baseball, and they go head-to-head one final time this regular season. Could this be a preview of next week's division series? Coverage begins Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Welcome to Mike and Mike's Football Friday.
Kirk Cousins has started 12 games for Washington. Do you know what his record is?
3-9.
Do you know how many times he's turned the ball over?
23 turnovers.
In 12 career starts.
You got no shot at that's happening.
Football Friday.
Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, boy.
Now has 110 receptions in his first 15 games. We told you yesterday that we didn't win the Powerball, but we found out as the day went on there is good news. We did win 62 cents each.
62 cents. That's confirmed.
It's a poor return on investment if you think about it.
It's Football Friday on Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
But we're letting it ride because we're crazy that way.
Throw it back in.
I just threw $20 at Bubba and said, keep it going.
Uh-huh.
Keep it going, kid. If I can put $20 into a pot and get back 62 cents, I'm a happy man.
We're hoping our return's a little better this time. It's got to be. I can't.
We won $8.
It was what? $235 million, and we won $8. It was $267.
Now it's $267.
It's got to be more than that before Saturday. I can't believe it's only going to go up $60 million. Come on.
Well, I hope it doesn't, because
time.
that would mean no one else would get in it. I want fewer people in it. I'd like to enter a lottery that is $267 million at stake, and I only want like 11 people in it.
It's always been amazing because you hear people that say, "Oh, I'm going to play the lottery because it's at $300 million now." Like, $50 million wasn't enough.
Exactly.
There are those that say, "I won't play it when it's $300 million because everybody's playing it. When it's really low, that's when I'm going to play it because nobody else plays it. It gives me better odds."
Yeah.
Go figure.
No one ever wins.
Either way, we don't win.
We're not going to win this thing. I was happy to get 62 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Lowe is our celebrity picker. He's coming up in just a couple of minutes. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Rob Lowe and Ron Jaworski on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline coming up in this hour. Giants win last night to kick off Week 3. It's a win they desperately needed. And I'll say it again, they've looked much better than their record. The Giants are 8 bad minutes away from being 3-0. So if I were to phrase this question to you this way, right now, throw those 62 cents into a pot and a whole lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, you have to wager an amount of money that matters to you on which team is going to win the NFC East. Which one would you pick?
Part of me is still going the Cowboys. Part of me is still doing that. I don't know if that's just because I picked them. I mean, how tough is it to overcome your quarterback and your receiver, which are two of the best in the league, out for about 10 weeks? It seems ridiculous. If I do go with the next one, if there is another one, I would say the Giants. They're not great in any facet. They have the chance to be great in passing. They absolutely do. Last night you saw a glimpse of it with Randall and Odell Beckham. So let's see what happens when Victor Cruz gets there. That's their best chance of being great somewhere in the passing game. Won't be the running game. Not going to be on defense. So that's the chance that they have. Thing that scares me is 43 points they've given up in the fourth quarter. So right around 15 points a game. That, quite honestly, you won't win on average doing that. That you'll lose more than win if you keep doing that because you're not a good enough team to do what you did last night this time. You had that lead, but then keep that lead and even increase that lead in the fourth quarter, even though they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter in all 3 games. So that part makes me a little bit nervous. It's hard for me, though. I sit there, say Dallas because I picked Dallas. It's hard for me not to lean toward the Giants, though. It really, really is difficult.
I do. I think if I had to bet an amount of money that mattered to me on who'll win that division, I think it would be them. I have more confidence. Put it this way. I have more faith for the 2 huge blunders that he has committed that directly contributed to his team's 0-2 start. I have more confidence in Eli Manning than I do any other quarterback in that division. Obviously, that doesn't mean Tony Romo. Romo's not there. If Romo was there, it's a different conversation. If Romo's there, we're not having this conversation. I would take the Cowboys easily. Remember also, before the season started, FPI picked the Eagles to edge out the Cowboys. Why? Because the Cowboys have two much tougher games than anyone else does.
They do.
Based upon winning the division last year. Mm-hmm. The Cowboys' two extra games this year are Green Bay and Seattle.
That's right.
I don't know who the Giants' two are. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but it isn't Green Bay and Seattle, and I don't think anything could be worse than Green Bay and Seattle. So they're going to have a more favorable schedule. Again, handing away a game at Dallas, that's a crusher. I mean, that could wind up costing them easily. As we said at the time, that could wind up costing them their season, was having that game right there to be won on the road and not doing it.
And really looking quickly at the Dallas.
It's the 49ers and Vikings.
Well, but I'm going back to Dallas, and the team, they'll have to do at least one of those without the two guys, because Seattle is November 1st. Neither one's going to be back by then.
Green Bay game?
The Green Bay game is December 13th. So
they might have them back.
Shot to have them back.
Well, listen, if you listen to Chris Carter on our show earlier this week, and a lot of other receivers or other people who've had that injury, they tell you it's all well and good to say Des Bryant will be back, but to use Mike and Mike phrase, he won't be better than ever.
Right.
Chris Carter will absolutely tell you, and CC he'll be here in an hour, and he had that injury. He'll tell you Des Bryant will not be himself again until next year as a consequence of that injury. So right now, if I had to bet on it, I'd bet on the Giants. By the way, Rashad Jennings will join us a little after 9 Eastern time this morning, which I'm looking forward to. I believe Rashad Jennings went to CC's high school. I think CC coached Rashad Jennings in high school. I think he went to St. Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I believe they now, I believe, I'm not sure the count, they have the most players at the high school in the NFL right now.
By far. Not even close. They have more players. Bubba sent this out earlier. They have more, that high school has more players in the NFL than any other high school, and it's by a wide margin.
I knew they had the most. I didn't know what the margin was.
I didn't say it.
But I knew they had the most. Pretty impressive.
St. Thomas Aquinas has 15 players in the NFL. Next is 6. Wow. Glenville High School in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, Cleveland, sure.
Do you know it?
Uh-huh. That's where Ted Ginn.
Ted Ginn, exactly right. Yeah. Jonathan Newsom, Dante Whitner, Frank Clark. Mm-hmm. Miami's Norland Senior High School also has 6. Yeah. So those two are tied. That has Dwayne Bowe, Antonio Brown, Duke Johnson. But St. Thomas Aquinas, show me Rashad Jennings' name on here. Please tell me I had that right. It doesn't. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw Rashad. It's Rashad Green, not Rashad Jennings. Rashad Green. I just was scanning through the names this morning. But they do have Geno Atkins and Giovanni Bernard and Philip Dorsett, Major Wright, James White, whatever. The point of it is
they got a lot.
we'll have Rashad Jennings a little later this morning, and we'll go from there. Okay, before we get to Rob Lowe, I think that we may be looking at the end of an era on Sunday. The latest that you're hearing out of New Orleans is that Drew Brees is going to play. I'm going to have to see that to believe it. The whispers you hear all over the place are that the shoulder is bad. And if they lose this game and fall to 0-3, they're playing Carolina. Carolina goes to 3-0. They're in all kinds of trouble.
At Carolina, too. So
at Carolina, although that doesn't really make a difference because the Saints are 0-6 in their last 6 home games.
At home, you're exactly right.
They can't win a home game. Drew Brees over the last 4 seasons is 25-25 with 50 interceptions. That's the most in the NFL over that span. And there was a nice look at this by 538.com that put together a look at Brees, the stretch that he's gone through here where the team has really sort of dipped. And they point out that Dan Marino in Miami, John Elway in Denver, and Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia each endured similar rough patches, but all of them did so when they were between 26 and 31 years old. Drew Brees was 35 when the Saints streak that sort of dipped off began. He's older than that now. He's banged up, and his contract is enormous. To call it prohibitive would be the understatement of the century.
Monster cap.
He will count $27.4 million against the cap next year.
Yeah, he's the highest cap hit of any person for any team next year.
The Saints, by the way, project to be about $15 million over the cap next year, so the money has to come from somewhere, and the most likely spot is Brees. So if they somehow find a way to pull out a huge, a stunning win at Carolina, right the ship, then I'll eat my words. But I don't expect that to happen, and they go to 0-3 with the future out there, it sort of feels like the end of something in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's been great. For a franchise, for those of us old enough, the Saints were awful, right? They were the Aints. They were the bags over their heads.
Right.
They were a laughing-stock NFL team for a really long time. And Sean Payton and Drew Brees in this group not only made them a really good team for a long time, but because of what they symbolized in the aftermath of Katrina and everything else, they kind of became a little bit America's team.
They absolutely did.
And they were a fun team to watch, and it sort of feels like we may be seeing the end
I
of
always
it.
say everything's got to end at some point. We keep talking about that with Peyton Manning and out in Denver and how much longer that's going to go. And that's now with Drew Brees. Remember, he had when it was New Orleans, Miami, a lot of it was based on Nick Saban was in Miami then and saying he may still be in the pros if they had gotten Drew Brees instead of Drew going to New Orleans. He had that shoulder reconstructed, and now he has it hurt again and didn't throw, isn't throwing a whole lot or if at all in practices. And Sean Payton had said he's got to be throwing in practices if he's going to play in a game. And also then you start to look at if he's throwing in the game, does it set him back each game? Then you rehab each week. You have to back him off of practice because he's a practice guy. He's not a guy that takes off practices as they're getting older like some other quarterbacks do. And it's fine if you want to do it that way. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying just his schedule doesn't do that. So now all of a sudden do you have to start doing that? Do you have to start giving him a pitch count during the week? That is something he's not used to. We'll see. And the bottom line is not re-injuring that shoulder at all. Obviously, he still gives them their best chance to win.
All right. So let's see what winds up happening with them. I will root for him this weekend, even though I love Ron Rivera, because I'd like to see this thing right itself in New Orleans. I'm not rooting to see the end of this thing, but you sort of look at the money and you look at the circumstances and you say, it looks like we may be seeing the end of that. All right. Rob Lowe will make football picks and a whole lot more in exactly 1 minute, 60 seconds away from Rob Lowe after this word from DraftKings. Mike, football season just started, but it already feels like the playoffs at DraftKings.com, which is the official one-week fantasy football site of ESPN, where millionaires are being crowned all season long.
No season-long commitments here. It's fantasy football on demand. Play where you want, when you want, with the players you want. $1 million up for grabs every week. Every game is the big game, so every play matters, whether it's the first quarter or the fourth quarter or some big goal line stand. It all could mean the same to you. Could mean you've just turned your love of football into $1 million payday. This is DraftKings, baby. Welcome to the big time. Go to DraftKings.com. Use the promo code MIKE to play for free for a shot at $1 million in this week's Millionaire Maker event. Enter Mike for free entry right now at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
Through 2 weeks, our celebrity NFL pickers are 5-1.
Ty Burrell with us, Modern Family.
Marcus Mariota is going to win this game based on nothing but good karma.
Last week, the Miami Heat's Chris Bosh went 2-1 with his picks.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys. Even though Dez is out, I think we'll find a way.
How will actor Rob Lowe handle Week 3? Let's find out.
That's right. He has been a huge movie star basically all of our lives.
Absolutely.
Has a new TV show getting set to come on the air. Yesterday we had the pleasure of talking football and more with Rob Lowe. Golic, our celebrity pickers for weeks 1 and 2, have done a pretty good job.
Yes,
they are combined 5-1 between the two of them. And joining us now, he's been one of the best-known actors, frankly, for our entire lives.
Yes, he has.
His new series is set to premiere, The Grinder, on Fox. Here's Rob Lowe with us on Mike and Mike. Good morning, Rob.
Hey, guys, how are you?
Doing well.
We're doing great. And the first place I have to start is this. I don't know if you would ever have had this experience, but sometimes if you date a woman and then she leaves you and she goes on to other things, you might feel jealous. When you see Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning and Eli Manning doing all these DirecTV commercials, all these different guys, that was you. That was your gig. You were the only one doing it. Now everyone is doing it. What do you think when you see those guys doing your old spot?
Well, here's my disclaimer, first of all, is I know a lot of those guys personally, and I love them, and they're my favorites, and they're why I watch the NFL. Okay, now that I'm done with my disclaimer, I want to say, yeah, see, think it's easy, don't you? Yeah, right? And it makes me go, hey, maybe I should think about running a 2-minute offense for the Colts. I mean, if they think they can eat out of my dog dish, why can't I eat out of theirs?
Well, quite honestly, the way it's been going for the Colts right now, they may be looking for help, but probably not at the quarterback position. Before we obviously want to get to the picks down the road, but just love talking to you about what you've been doing. And while movies and TV shows, what about sports movies? Certainly, I remember Youngblood as the hockey player, but when you do a sports movie, because you're a sports guy, you dig sports, do you like those more, or is it just another role, or how do you go about preparing for that sports-type movie?
Well, first of all, I love sports movie genres, love them, and am frankly kind of bummed that I haven't found one or been offered one since Youngblood, and that was when I was a kid. So I love them, and for Youngblood, there was a lot of learning how to skate. I mean, every aspect of it. It got me into working out. I think I did Youngblood when I was just turning 20, and the biggest gift Youngblood ever gave me was a lifelong devotion to training, which carries on to this day. But I can remember starting that with Youngblood. I wanted to kill myself. Oh, my God. It was the absolute worst. I can remember skating over to the boards and vomiting and then having to go back to practice. I ended up falling in love with training. So that's the fun part, is having to learn the trade.
But how great is it when you read the script and at the end of it you're going to get to wear somebody out? That's got to be a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anytime the movies can make anybody look like a stud, right? So, if I go to hockey games, even today, if I go to hockey games, people go crazy. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. You don't really want to see me skate. Believe me.
One other thought on that I'm fascinated by. Both Mike and I are dads. His kids are a little, in their 20s. My kids are just becoming teenagers. And I look at people now like Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber, and I just wonder, I can't even imagine becoming that kind of famous at that age. Now, you were older than that, but you were incredibly famous, and frankly, look, every woman in the world loved you when you were 19 or 20 years old. Just what was that like, and what are the pitfalls of something like that? Because we've seen a lot of people have a lot of trouble with stuff like that.
Well, it's funny. I've written 2 bestsellers in the last 4 years, and one of the big themes in both of the books is that. And it's sort of hard to boil down, but it's a fascinating thing. Look, I'm a parent now, and I have kids now who are way older now than I was when I went through all of that. And so when I look at my own kids, I go, wait a minute, I was them, and I was famous, and I was flying to New York and starring in this and on my own with like wads of cash and per diem and no supervision. What? Look, the other part of it is fame is the one drug we have not created a rehab for.
That's a great point.
What a great sense.
I really believe that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So now the new sitcom out, The Grinder, with Fred Savage. So tell us a little bit about that.
Guys, I'm telling you, I haven't felt this way about a new show since The West Wing, where we're at that moment. We have 6 in the can, but no one's really seen them other than critics. Critics are really into it, which is really, really feels great, but America hasn't seen it yet. And I wanted to find something that was as good as Parks and Recreation if I was going to do another comedy. And this thing, man, it is so funny. It made me laugh out loud, the scripts, when I read them. And, already we're getting actors seeing it, calling up and asking to be on the show. We had Jason Alexander see it, call us up, say, can I ever be on this? We put him in it. We had Christina Applegate see it, call us up. And yesterday was Tim Oliphant from Justified. So it's a cool show. I'm psyched for people to see it.
It's called The Grinder. It debuts Tuesday. That's next Tuesday, September 29th at 8:30 on Fox, coast to coast. All right, Rob Lowe is with us. Let's pick some games here. Again, you've got big shoes to fill. We've had Chris Bosch doing this in week 2, and he went 2-1.
Mm-hmm. Ty Burrell
in
week 1
from Modern Family went 3-0 in week 1. So let's see how we do. We got the Eagles and the Jets. 0-2 Philadelphia, 2-0 Jets. Rob Lowe, who do you like?
I think this is the easiest pick we're looking at here, and I'm going with the Jets. I don't quite understand what's going on in Philadelphia right now.
I don't think Philadelphia quite understands what's going on in Philadelphia right now.
But you just saw the Jets play your Colts on Monday Night Football. Most people know you're a big fan of the Colts. And most of the narrative coming out of that game was about the struggles of Indianapolis. What did you think of the Jets?
Well, first of all, the most entertaining thing about it was Chuck Pagano's press conference afterwards for me. I was like, whoa, interesting. Listen, every time I talk about the Colts, it makes headlines, and so I've learned my lesson after saying Peyton Manning's retiring. So I tread on dangerous ground here, but I don't know what's going. I love Andrew Luck. I love him. And I just don't think he has the firepower around him. But something's. Here's my fear. I feel like something's up in Indy. I don't know what it is, but something's up. So I think this is a big week for them as well.
Well, let's do that game next then. Colts at the Titans. So you got the young Marcus Mariota against Andrew Luck sitting at 0-2. Do you have confidence your team turns it around?
Listen, they have to. Look, not surprisingly, I'm a big believer in the star system. Andrew Luck's a star. Mariota's a young punk. So, Andrew Luck's got to take him to school, period. End of story.
I'd love to see you and Ty Burrell run into each other, by the way, because he's the world's biggest Marcus Mariota fan.
Exactly.
So that would be a great fight to see.
By the way, I love Marcus Mariota as a player and as a young man. I've spent a lot of time in Hawaii, and obviously they love him there, and for good reason. But this is the NFL. I've seen Brian's song. I know what rookies are supposed to be doing.
That's exactly right. Hey, absolutely. You for this week, you don't like him. That's just the way it works.
That's the way it works. Exactly. I mean, he's going to have his time. He's the future. Andrew Luck's got to be right now, and he's got to be this Sunday.
And then final game we have for you is Cincinnati and Baltimore. Bengals and Ravens. Baltimore off to an 0-2 start, so they desperately need this one at home. Who do you like?
This is the one I think is tougher for me anyway. This would be the one if I was in Vegas I probably wouldn't bet, and I'd try to pick another game. Because I just don't have any feel for either one of these teams. I've never had a feel for the Bengals, and we're going back to 1974 when I say that, because I grew up I grew up in Dayton. And I grew up in Dayton and was a Steelers fan. So what does that tell you about how I feel about the Bengals? Or, as we call them in Southern Ohio, the Bungles. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with the Ravens on this.
All right, so Rob Lowe's got the Colts, he's got the Jets, and he's got the Ravens for our Week 3 picks, and he has his new show coming out, debuts next Tuesday on Fox, 8:30 for The Grinder with Fred Savage. Rob, we're both fans. This is really great. Thanks very much for doing this.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks. This is great. Let's do it again sometime.
All right, so that was Rob Lowe, our celebrity picker for Week 3. We record those sort of when these guys are available, and that worked out really well. There's an extended version of that. Golic and I are sitting here yelling at Brooksy about the stuff they edited out.
I mean, we're such fans. I mean, we do more talking about this guy he's my age. I mean, he's right there. So, I mean, some of the movies he did.
By the way, if I were you, I would stop saying that, because look at him and look at you.
You're right.
I don't think you want people to know you're the same age.
Good point.
I think you want to tell people you're his grandfather.
That works way better for him.
If he put you in one of his movies, you would not be playing his brother.
Would I be playing his father?
No, you would not be playing. Here's my identical twin. That's not how you'd be cast.
How old is he?
He's like your age.
I think he is my age.
He's definitely older than me. He's 51.
He's a year younger than me. Can you see that? If I was in a movie with him, that I'm 52, he's 51. Mike Golic plays Rob Lowe's father.
Yeah, he looks 1,000 times better than you. Okay, 1,000,000.
All right,
I don't even know. There's not even a number.
Whoa, easy. You know what? Saying he looks a little better than me, cool. Let's just.
Anyway, where is the extended version of that going to be? Is that on ESPNRadio.com? Because we asked him about the movie The Outsiders and the whole experience.
Some other comparisons of being in his line of work for a long time as opposed to sports. Yeah, it was. We enjoyed it. Absolutely loved it.
We'll get the full version of that interview up on ESPNRadio.com. Our celebrity picks brought to you by DraftKings. Win huge cash prizes playing fantasy football at DraftKings.com, the official 1-week fantasy football site of ESPN. Play for free with the code Mike at DraftKings.com. Ron Jaworski has been watching tape, and he's got a report for you next. Mike and Mike.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
Week 3 of the NFL season is underway. Giants over the Skins 32-21 last night, and it wasn't that close. Eli Manning threw a couple of fourth-quarter touchdowns. Kirk Cousins really struggled. Both teams now 1-2. We will talk to Ron Jaworski about it in just a moment. Royals beat the Mariners 10-4. They clinched the division for the first time since 1985. Johnny Cueto, his first win since August 15th. Sports Center with Mike and Mike, brought to you by True Car.
True Car, make car buying simple, fair, fun. If you are ready to buy a car, just download the True Car app. You're going to see what others paid for the same car you're looking for. True Car users see average savings of over $3,000 off the MSRP. Download the True Car app today.
Ron Jaworski in a second. Very quickly, I just want to say, if I want to make you feel very old,
yep.
You were just talking about how old you are, and anyone who's been listening to us this long, first off, God bless you and thank you.
You're not kidding.
But if you were listening to us during our first year, you might remember that my daughter was born.
Yep.
The first year we were on the air, my first child, on September 25th of the year 2000. We called her Baby Nikki for the longest time on this show. Today, my daughter Nikki is 15 years old. 15.
Can't call her Baby Nikki anymore.
She's not Baby Nikki anymore.
She doesn't want you to call her that anymore.
Well, she's still my baby
She's
Nikki.
always going to be your listen. You're absolutely right, but she ain't going to want to hear that out of you. 15, Nikki. Oh, my gosh.
Happy birthday, sweetheart.
Wow.
She's on her way to school. We will have a little party for her tonight.
Happy birthday.
We're going to have to buy dinner. We have dinner for, like, all of her friends in a restaurant.
Right.
We're going to have to buy dinner for all the people sitting near them, right? You're going to put, like, a whole bunch of 15-year-old girls at one table. There's no conceivable chance. We're ruining the evening of everyone
without a doubt.
Unless
they're in a separort building. Then, you're going to have to pick up the tab for everybody else.
But, so Bubba, by the way, says he's in. He's going to contribute the 38 cents. That'll work out very well.
Nice. Happy birthday, Nikki. That's 15.
To make your mom and me very proud every day. Happy birthday, sweetheart. All right, here's a man who's just slightly older than that and also makes Stacy and I very proud. Whenever we see him on TV, here's our buddy Ron Jaworski on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Good morning, Jaws.
Well, I'm glad I make you proud. Thank you.
How are you, Jaws? What'd you think last night? So here's a lot of we're hearing from a lot of fans this morning in Washington who are frustrated because they hear what they perceive to be Jay Gruden making a lot of excuses for Kirk Cousins and the mistakes that he makes when Jay Gruden was highly critical of Robert Griffin's performances in practice. So I think that there are a lot of people who don't like the way that sort of is shaping up. What did you see last night from Cousins?
Well, I really don't know about the noise that surrounds this quarterback situation and the drama. You know, I try to base my opinions on what I see in the field, and I've always felt this way about Kirk Cousins. He certainly does have NFL ability, but he predetermines far too many throws. And you can't do that in this league because the defense will bait you. They will set you up. His first interception was a clear example of that. He came out of the huddle throwing that play-action seam, and you've got to snap your head around and see the defense. And I call guys that predetermine those types of throws slow blinkers, because when you come out that fake, you've got to see it, and he just doesn't see those throws. And I know there's a zillion stats. Our ESPN stat guys have, we get reams of stats every week. There's really only one stat to me that is the most important stat, and that is turning the football over. So far this year in the NFL, if you are -1 or worse in the turnover takeaway category, you lose 85% of the time. I'm going to tell my quarterback, you throw an interception, you're going to sit next to me on the bench. You cannot turn the football over. Look at the numbers of all the great quarterbacks. They take care of the football. They're judicious where they throw it. And when you watch Cousins, he's just not careful with the football.
On the other side of that, you see Victor Cruz not back yet, but Ruben Randle has 7 catches, a touchdown. Odell Beckham Jr. has a 7 catches and a touchdown. If you get Victor Cruz back, you can only think of the possibilities that could happen. Your thought on this, not offense total, because I don't think it's a great running game, but the passing offense potential that the Giants have going forward, given what the rest of the shape the rest of this division is in right now.
Yeah, but Mike, I agree with you. I mean, it could be a very dynamic offense in the passing game. They certainly lack a receiving tight end. They've got more, blocking type tight ends, and maybe Donald will come around and, maybe the hands will improve and he'll do a better job of getting open, but he's kind of an afterthought in their offense. But when they get, that bevy of wide receivers back, they could be dangerous. And let's not forget the guy under center. They have a professional quarterback in Eli Manning. I think Eli Manning has played very well this year, and I know people are going to talk about the couple, gaps that he's had the last couple games, but Eli knows how to play the position. If you can protect Eli Manning, this could be a very dynamic passing game.
I agree. Mike and Mike, Ron Jaworski, were presented by Progressive Insurance. The Philadelphia Eagles, it feels like everyone in the world has been talking about them. I have been waiting all week to ask you this question, and I will steal this from our friend Mr. Berman. Eagles, what?
Well, I'll speak about them offensively, and I spend a lot of time because obviously I live in the Philadelphia area, and that's always the topic in this town. And when you're 0-2, it's what's wrong with the Eagles, and particularly on their offense where they've been dominant for 2 years. And really what is shown to me, besides some offensive linemen not playing as well as they're capable of playing, I think they become predictable. And I went through their shotgun runs, guys. This year, they got 27 runs for 40 yards out of the shotgun running game. And it's 1.8 yards per carry. It's been predictable. Whenever the back lines up alongside of Sam Bradford, 22 of those 27 shotguns run have gone away from him. So I'm watching Dallas, I'm watching Atlanta, and they are slanting and scraping right to the point of attack. So when you're running to a specific area of the field, 81% of the time out of a specific formation, that's predictability. So now when you look at Chip Kelly, what's he going to do? He's got to change this up. They've got to do a better job of self-scouting, and they've got to find a way to get the offense cranked up. And the receivers did not beat man-to-man coverage, and Sam Bradford looks a little bit frenetic. Other than that, everything's fine in Philadelphia.
I was just going to say, all great. It has to start, though. Listen, at the end of the day, the players on the field have to beat the players on the other side of the ball, to which, if they don't, then Chip Kelly has only himself to blame because he chose all the talent. But what's on his plate is, I think, just what you said. You can't be predictable. I mean, these are smart players in the NFL. They watch tape, they see tendencies, and they're going to figure things out. So in your mind, and I would agree, it would be incumbent on him. He's got to start mixing it up better.
Yeah, no question about it. Here's what I'm going to watch this week. They play the Jets, who are a very good defensive team, and they just might be, by the end of the season, the best defensive team in the NFL. The Eagles have played Atlanta. They have a mediocre defense. Dallas, not a great defense. They play with tremendous discipline. And, oh, by the way, Sean Lee just flashes. I mean, this guy makes play after play after play. When he's healthy, you can put him in that Luke Kuechly, Khalil Mack type categories, impact football players. But they're going to face the Jets this week. And Todd Bowles has that Jet defense flying around. And Sam Bradford is going to get hit. And we're going to see in this game if he can hang in there, look down that gun barrel, deliver the football. And could this wide receiving core, which was very good against Atlanta, that plays predominantly zone, can they beat man-to-man coverage? They didn't do it against Dallas. Let's see if they can do it against a couple of the best corners and put in Buster Screen at safety. That's a heck of a coverage group.
Jaws, not a game that I think is going to garner a lot of ratings, Oakland coming to Cleveland, but storylines. First, with Cleveland, did they make the right decision in going back to Josh McCown? And then for the Raiders, how far along do you see Derek Carr coming?
Yeah, I think at the moment it is the right decision with McCown, although I will say I have been impressed with the improvement of Johnny Manziel. He has made some plays. He still plays a little bit fast, but I get it. He's only in his second year. He hasn't had the experience that you need. He's missed some time in training camp in the offseason, but I did see improvement. But I think it's still good to have McCown under there. You got a steady leader that can handle that offense. But I'll tell you this, a guy that has impressed me has been Derek Carr. When I studied him in the offseason for my quarterback big board, I liked what I saw. A very conservative passing game, didn't do a whole lot, but this year they've now expanded it. And really what has impressed me about Derek Carr, particularly last week against the Baltimore Ravens, he was tremendous against the Ravens blitz packages. 6 for 8, 120 yards and a touchdown. And they were those exotic type schemes, so they didn't fool him. And he's also got great mobility and some excellent wide receivers, which really help when you got Cooper and Crabtree on the outside.
Whole lot of talk going on about Andrew Luck. Well, how much fault is in his lap? How much with the offensive line up front? What's going on with that offense? What are you seeing out of Andrew Luck? We know he's a great quarterback. That you think he needs to improve upon the most?
Well, the skill set is there. We all know that. The naked eye can see when you watch Andrew Luck play the game. He's one of the premier quarterbacks in the game from a skill set. But the quarterback position is a dependent position. You depend on other people doing their job. The offensive line right now isn't doing their job well enough to allow Andrew Luck to get the ball down the field. They are not a dink and dunk style of offense. They want to get the ball down the field. He's not getting that time. And they've got to get their equilibrium back. They've got to have balance. They've got to get Frank Gore involved in this running game. They've got to stay out of those predictable passing situations, and Luck will be fine because he's got way too much talent to be struggling.
He is Ron Jaworski, and he's with us every single week telling us what he sees on the tape because the tape does not lie. Thank you, Jaws.
Thanks, Jaws.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great
My
weekend.
pleasure.
Ron Jaworski, Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Start your day at Subway with a fresh toasted steak, egg white, and cheese. Subway, eat fresh. Coming up next here on Mike and Mike, we will explain how the nicest moment of the night at Thursday Night Football took place when almost nobody was watching. That's after this word from Stamps.com. Like most of us are trying to find more time every day to get things done. Can't let trips to the post office slow you down, and now you don't have to thanks to Stamps.com.
Buy and print official U.S. postage right from your own computer and printer. It's that simple, gang, and it's only going to take you about 5 minutes to set up on your computer. Right now, use the promo code Mike for this special offer, 4-week trial, plus $110 bonus offer, includes up to $55 in free postage. All you have to do, go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, type in Mike. That's Stamps.com, and enter Mike. Back after this on Mike and Mike.
Dave & Buster's, the only place to watch the games and play the games.
So we won 62 cents each.
62 cents.
All but one of us decided to let it ride. Seth, he took the 62 cents.
And here's the amazing thing. I'd like anyone at any point of their day today to reach into your pocket and actually have 62 cents in change. Bubba had it.
Yeah, he did. There may be nothing that sums up
The Mike and Mike staff better than that.
If I had $1 million, if I had
I actually think that our staff had a golf outing yesterday. It was Brooksy and Bubba.
Yeah.
Now, when last seen, we had video of Bubba swinging a golf club.
Whiffing, basically.
It was not pretty.
No.
He's now calling himself Par Peregrine. But I'm told Brooksy and Bubba beat Stan, Zick, and Hembo.
Oh, really?
Now, I think Brooksy is a stick.
I think Brooksy
from
can
what
play.
I'm told. I think Brooksy is close. Is you scratch? He's not scratch.
It seems like he's far and away better than everybody else who played. So
yeah.
it really.
So
let's just put this in perspective for a second. Bubba shot a 66 for 9 holes, and we still won.
A 6 for 9 holes.
I think it was a 66.
You're cheating, Bubba.
You're fighting over a 66 or a 62 for 9.
Yes, those were that. It was that 4-putt on 9 that killed you. Sports Center with Mike and Mike, brought to you by 1-800-Flowers.com. Here's an amazing limited-time offer from 1-800-Flowers, guaranteed to earn you major points. Send her a full bouquet of 36 beautiful roses for only $36. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com now, click on the microphone, and enter our name, Mike. I got a stat here. You want one on Kirk Cousins?
Yes.
You just heard Ron Jaworski saying he needs to take care of the football? Over the last 2 seasons, Kirk Cousins has taken 476 snaps. He has turned the ball over 15 times. In that same period of time, Aaron Rodgers has taken 1,054 snaps, so more than double the snaps. He has turned the ball over 7 times, so less than half. Even I can figure out the math on that.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron Rodgers happens to be maybe the most accurate quarterback that ever lived.
You're comparing him to the most accurate, it would seem, of all time, or interception to touchdown ratio.
Here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers, this is what makes him so good. He is so good. Mm-hmm. Remember what Kurt Warner used to say is he didn't worry about throwing a pick every now and again because we'll get it back.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers could overcome a little bit of that. Peyton Manning at his apex, Brady, but they don't. See, that's what separates the quarterback of this generation from the quarterback of a generation ago. They threw a lot more interceptions.
Yeah, they did.
Now, the way the game is officiated, the rules, and all that stuff play an
favors
enormous
the
role
more,
in that.
Right, yeah.
But the fact remains, these guys don't throw picks. They don't they put up spectacular numbers, and they don't throw interceptions.
Yeah, punt over interception is highly, highly recommended.
And so I guess just to finish my point, at this point, Kirk Cousins is doing neither.
No, he's not. And I think they do have a good running game. They only ran it 20 times last night as opposed to 49 passes. I think the defense is a pretty good defense. Statistically, it rated the best going into this week. Again, that was only a 2-game sample, 2 games at the beginning of the season. But you cannot turn the ball over. So I think Jay Gruden was right by backing his quarterback afterwards, saying he is the starter. But how much longer can you afford to do that if he's turning the ball over? And we'll see. We're 3 games in. He has, 3 touchdowns, I believe, and 4 interceptions. That's certainly not the formula you're looking for. And if that continues, there's no way you can stay with it.
There was a really nice moment at the game last night, and it took place at a time when almost no one was watching. The one person who was watching is Sean O'Hara, who's an analyst now at the NFL Network and, of course, played on the O-line for the Giants for a long time. D'Angelo Hall got hurt in the game. It's a toe. He has to have an MRI. And sometimes I think most of us who follow sports are being educated to the fact that you hear a toe and you think, oh, it's not such a big deal. A bad
toe
injury.
is a tough injury.
Can
Absolutely.
be a very bad injury.
Yes.
So in the tunnel, D'Angelo Hall is being taken out of there, and he's in pain, and he's suffered a bad injury, and his team is losing. And he encounters a young fan who said to him, "Hey, D'Angelo, I'll say a prayer for you." D'Angelo Hall said, "Thanks, kid. I needed that," and threw him his game jersey. This story was told by Sean O'Hara on his Instagram page. It's not something that was being publicized.
No,
it's not something D'Angelo Hall was telling the world. The reason we know this is because Sean O'Hara saw it. Again, he shared the story on Instagram.
If Sean didn't see it, we may not have the story at all. It was just done.
I'll read you the actual post. Moment just happened in the tunnel here at the stadium. Brian here, a 12-year-old fan of Washington, just saw D'Angelo Hall in the hallway and said, "Hey, D'Angelo, I'll say a prayer for you." Hall said, "Thanks, kid, I needed that," and threw him his game jersey. Hashtag true story, hashtag power of prayer, hashtag that just happened, hashtag Mean Joe Green.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, what all of us will think of is the Mean Joe Green commercial.
Yeah. When he throws the jersey to the kid who's drinking the Coke, and that's one of the great commercials, I think. I love that commercial.
All right, tweets. Kareem Washington tweets says, "Kirk Cousins is Rex Grossman reincarnated, turnover machine. Gruden should publicly critique Kirk's terrible play." That's the point. I think a lot of people just are frustrated because you heard Jay Gruden last year, I mean, very, very publicly calling out the way RG3 was playing in practice.
Yeah.
And now, he's defending Kirk Cousins when Kirk Cousins just threw a game away last night.
I'm with you. I get that, of how he treated one to treating the other, and the bottom line is if it's going to cost you games, it just can't continue.
Mike, I hate to say this about my beloved Saints, but I think it's time to rebuild from the top down, starting with coaches and quarterback. That's the point we were making earlier. It's starting to feel this weekend could really be, in its own little way, the end of this era
Sean
of
Payton
New Orleans
and Drew
football.
Brees, they've been obviously the focal points there, and what they've done, and it's so much more than football through Katrina and what went on and leaving for that time and then coming back and what it meant to the city and winning a Super Bowl. I mean, it was all such great stuff, but we all know Father Time wins at some point, and you just have to revamp and retool. You never want to admit it's going to happen, but they may be getting close there.
In 39 seasons before Peyton and Brees, the Saints made the playoffs 5 times. They've made the playoffs 5 times with those 2 guys. They are the best thing that ever happened to football in New Orleans, but that doesn't mean eventually it doesn't come to an end. Chris Carter in our studio. Next, as we continue, Mike and Mike.
Play to win your share of $1 million every week this football season at DraftKings.com. With 1 Week Fantasy at DraftKings, you can play when you want with a team you want. Just pick your contest, pick your team, and pick up your winnings. Hurry to DraftKings.com now. Use code REPLAY and play for free with your first deposit in Sunday's $1 million fantasy contest. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings. Welcome to the big time. Enter REPLAY for free entry now only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
The Pirates and Cardinals have the best 2 records in baseball, and they go head-to-head one final time this regular season. Could this be a preview of next week's division series? Coverage begins Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.